Obviously, we're here this morning to commemorate Yom Hashoah. It's actually, this year is a certain milestone, which some of you may have seen and seen publicized. It marks 80 years since the Warsaw Ghetto Uprising, and Yom Hashoah the date was chosen to commemorate the Warsaw Ghetto Uprising, because why commemorate Yom Hashoah now? You could really pick any day of the calendar to commemorate it. Why did Jews being killed throughout the entire year? Why now? This was the time of the Warsaw Ghetto Uprising during Pesach, and that was 80 years ago. And 80 years on the one hand sounds like a very big number, especially if you're 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 years old. That sounds like a really big number. But if you think about it, zoom out for a minute with me, and you think about kind of the history of the world, 80 years is really just like yesterday. Not that long ago. But as time goes on, the Holocaust is starting to become more of a memory. And as there are fewer and fewer Holocaust survivors with us alive, it really is incumbent upon us more and more and more with every day that goes by to hold the memory and to hold all of the stories. It's going to be upon us. Now we're thinking about it. It's our teachers, it's our parents, but it's going to be you. When you guys get older, it's going to be up to you to carry that memory with you to your children and to the future. Or else more and more people are going to start to say it didn't happen, they're going to start to forget, and that would be the most horrible thing, and the desecration of the memory of the 6 million as opposed to honoring it. So it really is an important day for us to really focus in today on the Shoah, on what it means, on the stories, on how it can inspire me to become a better person, a better Jew. We talked about a little bit in the Minyan this morning already. A number of years ago, it was just you guys. I was talking to the 8th graders. You had during COVID, the makeshift version of this, and 7th graders, 6th graders, and you remember what it was like when you had to do it. And 8th graders are spending a lot of their time on their names, not numbers, really focusing more intensely. And we want to really give our full attention to this morning's program and treat this morning, really the whole day, with the respect that it deserves. Throughout the day, the 8th graders are going to be taking shifts, standing next to the candles. So as we go through our day and we see the candles are going to be lit in the lobby throughout the entire day, it's not only going to be a half an hour this morning, but it's going to be the whole day is going to be taking on the character of remembering and really putting our attention to remember 6 million. We welcome all the parents and grandparents who are joining us this morning. It's really, really meaningful to have this multi-generational experience to be here, to think about some of our own grandparents who were survivors, perhaps other family members, great-grandparents, or people we know whose grandparents were killed in the Holocaust. We're going to be remembering them throughout the day over the loudspeaker at different points in the day, reading names of Hillel Torah family members who perished in the Shoah to remember them as well. And in order to especially give it the attention it deserves, we ask, and I know your teachers told you this, but I'm reminding you, no student should walk in and out during the program this morning. It creates a big distraction, and we want everyone to really be focused and take the seriousness it deserves. So there's no bathroom breaks, there's no water breaks. Everyone's going to stay where they are and stay focused as much as possible during the program. I thank Mrs. Pinchot, Martha Cohn, Mrs. Toljanik, and all the other teachers who worked so hard on this morning's special program. Let's give it the attention it deserves, and let's begin.
the baby? Will there be a hospital there? A doctor to deliver the baby?
Of course, things will be okay. We are bringing a baby into this world. We must be thankful and positive. Gamze Yavar, this too shall pass.
What is Yom Hashoah? Why are we all gathered here today? In Israel, a siren wails for 2 minutes on this day. The entire country stops. People get out of their cars, stop talking, walking, and spend 2 minutes remembering.
We have all gathered here today to do the same thing, to remember and to honor and to learn. Please rise as we listen to the siren and share a moment of silence in memory of those who perished.
We have all heard the number 6 million, yet this is a number that we cannot possibly understand. The only way to remember the 6 million individuals who had died at the hand of the Nazis and to honor those who had survived is to tell and retell their individual stories.
Each year, the 5th grade at Hillel Torah is privileged to have the responsibility of leading their school by the act of remembering, by sharing sad and painful stories, also stories about courage, hope, and resistance.
We would like to share the stories of a few heroes, some who survived and some who didn't. Each of these people can teach us something about being a better person. Sadly, many survivors are no longer able to share their stories and memories, yet their stories live on in us.
Join us as we journey to different place and to different time, when Jewish people cannot live proudly as we do, cannot learn in Jewish schools as we do, and cannot live safely as we do. This year, we would like to honor the memory of Vera Bernstein by sharing the story of the Hungarian Jews during the Holocaust.
Mrs. Bernstein was born in Budapest, Hungary in 1939. She was the beloved grandmother of the Gordon Bernstein family, and we are thankful that she shared her story with our 8th graders a few years ago. She was looking forward to sharing her story with her granddaughter's class again this year, but unfortunately passed away a few months ago. She described what it was like when the Nazis invaded Budapest in the fall of 1944.
In 1944, in the fall of 1944, the Nazis came to Budapest and started rounding up Jewish people. And one of the people that they rounded up was my mother, and her sister, her older sister, was rounded up and taken away from me. And that was, I was 1944, I was 5 years old, and I had no mother and no father to take care of me.
Mrs. Bernstein ended up in a Red Cross shelter where she was eventually found by her aunt. Both she and her mother survived the fate that befell most Hungarian Jews. She saw firsthand consequences of hate and discrimination, but always remained positive about humanity and thankful to Hashem for what she had. Her message continues to inspire us.
I want to tell future generations to look out for discrimination. Discrimination. The Jewish people that lived in Europe, they always thought they were part of the societies they lived in. Everybody hears about how the German Jews never thought this would happen to them, how the Hungarian Jews never thought this would happen to them. And I think, like I said before, discrimination is a very slippery slope. You start discriminating against one group, and before you know what happened, the government makes it a policy to discriminate against the other group. And if you have a government policy that discriminates, you know, when I walk around Skokie, it says Skokie welcomes everyone. And in the United States, that should be our attitude, that we welcome everyone. I have, you know, my children are born in this country, my sons and my daughter, and the American citizen. I have the most adorable, smart, awesome grandchildren. One is here right now. And so I have been blessed.
In the spring of 1944, right after Pesach, the same time of the year we find ourselves in today, the deportation of hungry Jews to Auschwitz began. Within 8 weeks, the Nazis would murder over 500,000 Hungarian Jews. Some Hungarian Jews survived because of a man named Hillel Torah. We would like to share his story and the story of those he saved.
Hillel the Nazis have already implemented the final solution, a plan to destroy all the Jews of Europe. Millions of Jews from Poland, Germany, France, Lithuania have already been killed. The Jews of Hungary are still alive. They can still be saved.
There are rumors of this final solution, but the world still does not believe it. Most citizens stand by silently. A few brave people decide to stand against the Nazis, even at risk of death. Raoul Wallenberg, a non-Jewish diplomat from Sweden, was one such hero.
Papers. Let me see your papers. What is your business in Budapest? Why are you here?
I'm Swedish. I've been sent to Hungary to represent my government, purely business as usual.
You may go, but make sure papers are always with you, or you will be arrested and sent back to Sweden.
The Nazis have just entered Budapest. We have secret information that the Jews here are a terrible danger. Mass killings of Jews in Poland. I can't let that happen. I must figure out a plan to help them.
Where are we to go?
We were told to take a small suitcase and report to the town square tomorrow. There's a talk of trains and transport. People say they're taking us to labor camps.
But we have heard the rumors about a place called Auschwitz. No one returned from this place.
My wife Hannah has heard that there might be someone who can help us from the Swedish embassy.
But we must try to get there without being caught by the Hungarian police. They are bad as the Nazis.
Sir, can you help us? We have 2 children and we've received orders for transport tomorrow. Please, we have nowhere else to turn.
Take these. They are certificates of protection from the Swedish government. Go to this address. It is a safe house. You'll be safe there.
God bless you, our Lord. We will never forget it.
I've taken on this assignment and I will never go back to Stockholm without knowing that I've done all a man could do to save as many Jews as possible.
Raoul Wallenberg used Swedish money to set up hospitals, nurseries, soup kitchens, and safe houses. He saved close to 100,000 Hungarian Jews. Sadly, he was arrested by the Soviets after the war and most probably died in Soviet prison. On November 26, 1963, Yad Vashem recognized Raoul Wallenberg as righteous among the nations.
But I lost the whole family. Our family was a very big family. Everybody died. Everybody.
It's hard to think of anybody who has saved more lives.
I admire his braveness. You cannot believe how human, son of Sweden, a citizen of the world, who reminded us of our obligations to our fellow human beings.
We adored him, his skill to cope with matters, and at the same time, with lots of humor. To have a big brother like that, he was very special.
Heir to one of the wealthiest families in Sweden, Raoul Wallenberg was sent to the U.S. to study and graduated from the University of Michigan. His experiences in the States had a significant impact on his future path.
There's a straight line that connects who he was in 1931 when he got off a train here in Ann Arbor to what he did when he arrived on the train in Budapest in 1944 to try and save tens of thousands of Jews.
Recruited to work for the Swedish and American governments, Wallenberg left the comfort and safety of his privileged life in Stockholm and went into the depths of hell. A mission to rescue the Jews in Budapest.
Eichmann arrived and decided to clean Hungary of Jews.
And then suddenly everything broke down.
They killed over 500,000 Hungarian Jews.
We knew that Raoul Wallenberg came to Budapest, that he wants to do the best for the Jewish people who were in such a big danger.
He established safe houses.
Being in a Swedish protected house, your chances of survival were significantly enhanced.
And he fabricated protective documents called Schutzpasses, which saved Jews from deportation to Auschwitz.
It's an amazing document which has saved us.
He wouldn't stop for anything, only to be able to save lives.
Raoul Wallenberg used to go to the death marches to try to save as many as possible.
They started to line up people, taking them away, and he started to yell, "You have no business to take these people away," and they stopped deportation.
He always got a few people back.
Every life he could restore, that was for him so important.
But his legacy of heroism lives on.
His integrity and his determination are outstanding examples of what one person can do.
Probably 500,000 people in the world today can attribute their existence to what Wallenberg did.
I wouldn't be sitting here if there is no Wallenberg.
And I really hope all my life since the war that I will be able to thank him personally one day. And
Before World War II, Kovno, Lithuania was home to a thriving Jewish community filled with shul, yeshivas, and Jewish organizations. When the Nazis invaded in 1941, 30,000 Jews were forced into ghettos. Many areas of the ghetto had no running water. Disease and starvation spread quickly. Yet the Jews of Kovno continued to resist both physically and spiritually. Many secretly smuggled in weapons. Some escaped to fight with partisans in the forest around Kovno. Others secretly tried to save Jewish children by smuggling them out of the ghetto. This is the story of Sheila Gerber, then known as Sarah, a survivor who shared her story with our eighth graders a few years ago. She was one of the few children from Kovno who survived to tell their stories. Having just celebrated Pesach when we retold the painful stories of our ancestors in Mitzrayim, we can't help but think that sometimes sad chapters in our history repeat themselves.
Have you heard the Nazis' decree? No babies can be born in the ghetto. What are we to do? What will happen to Sarah? They say the entire family will be deported to Auschwitz if a baby is found in the ghetto.
This is a decree worse than pardon, but a miracle happened then, and it will happen again. Just like Moshe was saved in the Nile, we will find a safe place for little Sarah.
Give her to me. You know I have many friends outside the ghetto walls. There was a Lithuanian farmer who may hide the baby
How about these pearls? Or then these walnuts? Use them to pay the farmer. He can buy milk for the baby and keep her safe.
Our brother and sister-in-law have been taken. They were forced onto the last transport. It is headed for Auschwitz.
We must escape from this ghetto. We must go to the farmer to find Sarah. We must raise her as our own, as a Jewish child who will carry on the legacy of her parents that once loved her.
Sarah's aunt and uncle didn't get out of the ghetto and back to the farm where Sarah was headed. They managed to protect Sarah and themselves until the war ended, and they were liberated in 1945. They raised Sarah, who later was known as Sheila, as their own child. Sheila named her first child after the mother she never knew.
He lived with his parents and two sisters, Irene and Sarah. When the Nazis invaded his town, Irene was sent to hide with a local Christian woman who had been a customer in Esther's store.
Aaron and Sarah stayed with their parents. 1 week later, the Nazis ordered that all the Jews in the ghetto lined up in the marketplace. Aaron's father feared the worst. He had heard rumors about a terrible place called Auschwitz, from which almost no one ever returned. Aaron's father told him to run.
Aaron, you must run away. Slide on the hole in the barbed wire over there, and then run into the forest. When night falls, find your way back to the city. Take this dress. Just on the Goyskis very weak sided. Maybe they will take pity on you and hide you too.
But Father, I don't want to leave you, Mother, and Sarah. Let me stay.
You must go. Sarah's too little to run, but we're brave and strong. You must live. I hope you will be reunited soon when the war is over. Now go before the Nazi guards come this way.
Reluctantly, Aaron listened to his father and Tyler stood under the barbed wire. He ran as fast as he could into the forest. Under the cover of darkness, he finally arrived at the Goyski home. He looked down at a small paper in his hand and knocked at the door of the serial number. With a trembling hand, he knocked on the door, and a woman answered.
What do you want? Who are you?
I'm Aaron, Irene's brother. I know you're hiding in the house. Please, give me a place to hide.
You're crazy. I am not hiding anyone. Look at you. Your sister's not here. Go away or you will get us all killed.
Please help me, Mrs. Gorski. My parents said you are a kind woman who always came to their store. I have nowhere to go. I have something for you.
You can hide here for a few days. That is it. You will need to stay in the attic in darkness so that no one sees you. I will bring you a crust of bread and some water each night. That is all I have.
Aaron lived in the attic for 2 years, alone and in darkness. He did not bathe or change his clothes for 2 years. He was allowed to see his sister Irene, but only for a few times and for a few minutes. He was always cold, hungry, and alone.
And life began to change drastically. We were put on rations. 12-foot walls were built around our area. German soldiers walking around with their helmets and their high boots. They created tremendous fear. And my little sister Sarah and myself and my dad were in that marketplace with other Jews, made to sit one line behind the other while guards walking around the group hitting people. They're not lined up exactly right. And I remember praying to God to spare us. But I also knew that they had the full power to do whatever they wanted. And as we're sitting there, waiting to be shipped to Treblinka, my dad told me to run. And I
somehow. I crawled behind the people sitting in the marketplace on my hands and my knees, crawled to the end of the marketplace, and we had open sewers that went along straight. And I dropped into one of those, kept crawling till I felt I was out of sight, stood up and started running. When I came to her door, she saw me, she started screaming at me for coming there. And I told her, I said, my mother said this, told me that you would help me. You're my last resort to stay alive. And you have my sister here. And her first reaction was, your sister's not here anymore. Then you must leave. And I begged and I cried. Begged a lot. Cried a lot. Somehow I must have touched her heart. Because she said to me, okay, I'll let you up to the attic, but only for a few days. And then you must leave and find your mother again, because you are not my responsibility. She gave me a bucket to use as a toilet, and we crawled up to her attic. She put some straw in a sack, placed it where the roof and the floor meet, and that became my haven. So hunger became a preoccupation with me. I used to daydream of the days when food was plenty, wondering what it would be like to be full, to be able to say, I had enough, I don't want any more. So life in the attic was very hard. It was lonesome. I was filthy. I was full of lice. Never washed. In the 2 years that I was there, I never took a bath, never cut my hair, never brushed my teeth. And what I can't believe is I never got sick while I was there. I used to look forward to rain. I used to love rain because the rain would come down on those tin plates of the roof and make such horrific noise. And I'd be able to scream, I'd be able to cry, I'd be able to sing, and just, I don't know, let my emotions, my pent-up emotions escape. So rain to me was something I really look forward to.
Aaron and Irene survived the war. Out of 5,000 people living in a town of building, only 29 survived. Out of those 29, only 2 children survived. These children are Aaron and Irene.
Aaron moved to Chicago in 1947. He was one of the founders of the Illinois Holocaust Museum. He wrote a book about his experiences called I Still See Her Haunting Us. His little sister Sarah's face is on the cover. Aaron passed away in April 2018, but his hologram at the Illinois Holocaust Museum will continue to tell his story.
Our last story tells a remarkable story of resistance. This is a story of a group of children the same age as all of us who resisted Nazis with their imagination, creativity, and talent, and the love they felt for their friends and teachers in camp called the Ravensstadt.
In 2019, Judy Strauss told our 8th graders of the time she spent in Ravensstadt. She spoke of the terrible conditions there and how the Nazis tricked the world into thinking it was a summer camp. She remembered when the Red Cross delegation came and the Nazis put on a show, giving prisoners new clothing, extra food, forcing them to play instruments and fake going to school, just to fool the world.
When the world wasn't looking, Theresienstadt was a place of sickness, starvation, and hardship. Most people were sent from there to Auschwitz within weeks of arrival. Yet there were 15,000 children who lived there at different points throughout the Shoah. Only 100 survived. But something else survived, which tells us a story of hope and courage.
to my mama and papa, to my friends, to my school.
Children, close your eyes. Picture beautiful butterflies. Can you see them? They're flying through a deep blue sky. They're so colorful, they'll make us smile.
Teacher, I'm reading a poem. It's called The Butterfly. May I read to you? The last, the very last, so richly, brightly, dazzling yellow. It went away because I'm sure it wished to kiss the world goodbye. For 7 weeks I've lived in here, penned up in this ghetto. But I found my people here, only I never saw another butterfly. That butterfly was the last one. Butterflies don't live in here, in the ghetto.
Most of the children into Raisin Stock did not survive. Papa, the child who wrote the poem you just heard, was later deported to Auschwitz, where he was killed. But the poems and pictures did survive. The children's teacher, Irina Sankova, risked her life to save them. After her transport over to Auschwitz was called, she wrapped her suit's artwork in her shawl and had them buried under the barracks.
After the war, the artwork was uncovered. Today, these pictures and poems tell us about their suffering, but also about their courage and autism, their hopes and fears. There were no butterflies at Theresienstadt, of course, but for the children, butterflies became a symbol of freedom.
strong faith in Hashem, the courage to risk one's life to save another. We ask that these stories encourage each of you to do acts of kindness and help those around you. We ask that these heroes make you better people. This is how we honor the 6 million who perished in the Shoah. May their memories be a blessing to all of us.
Before we conclude our ceremony, we would like to lead the whole middle school in singing one last song. We all know these words from the Haggadah that we just read on Pesach. The words speak of our difficult and painful history, but also of our unwavering faith in Hashem. He will ultimately protect Am Yisrael as we get closer to our next holiday, Yom HaShoah. We know certainty that this is true.
Wow, what an incredible, incredible program. Thank you so much to our fifth graders. Incredible, wow. Really no words. To see the stories of Mrs. Burston, Aaron Elster, children of Theresienstadt, Raoul Wallenberg, reminding us of the dangers of anti-Semitism, which unfortunately is increasing, even in America today. Dangers of bigotry and hatred of all types. The hope and the resilience and the ingenuity and the belief in the future, and the heroism of even just the power of one person, Raoul Wallenberg. And that was, of course, a very dramatic situation, but that could be each of us could make such a difference in our own lives with those around us, with society around us. What a powerful message. We all need to be thinking about that. So, the number of 6 million is really unfathomable. I saw earlier that if we were to have a moment of silence, a minute of silence, the way they do, and I just spoke to people in Israel this morning, that what you saw, the siren, the whole country stops for a minute. If we had a minute of silence for every Holocaust victim, we would have to be standing still silent for 11 and a half years. It's unfathomable. And today we're going to light 6 candles, one for each of the million. It's not enough, but it's what we're going to do. It's what we can understand a little bit in where we're at. And we're going to call upon a number of representatives of our students and our parents who are here. For the first 2 candles, we'd like to call up our 8th grader Bella, born in Burston, along with her mother Chaya. And in memory of Vera Burston, whose story you heard so beautifully displayed today, and who recently passed away. We miss her a lot. And we're going to light both those candles in memory of all the survivors whose stories you heard, Aaron Elster and many others who are no longer with us, who have taught us about hope and emunah in the face of hardship. Next 2 candles, you can stay up here. The next 2 candles I'd like to call up our own 5th grader, representing our 5th grade class who did such a beautiful, beautiful job helping all of us commemorate Yom HaShoah today. Rafi Ackerman, along with her mother Robin, in memory of all the grandparents, great-grandparents, and relatives of Hillel Torah families who perished in the Shoah. For the next 2 candles. The next 2 candles, we'd like to call up one of our 8th graders, Sarah Leonard, representing all the 8th grade students who have worked so hard this year to keep the memories of the Shoah alive through the Names Not Numbers project. And these 2 candles will be in memory of the over 1.5 million children who perished in the Shoah, and the children of Hillel Torah will be dedicating all their Torah learning today in their memory. These candles will remain lit throughout the day. We'll be moving them to the lobby. As you pass them today, pause for a moment and think about what they represent. And 8th graders will be taking turns reading names of other victims as well as reciting Tehillim throughout the day. We'll also be reading more names over the loudspeaker. Once again, we'd like to really thank, we're going to say Kel Malay in just a moment, but before we do, I'd really like to thank once again Mrs. Pinchot for her incredible work and that original song as well at the end. So beautiful. I'd like to thank the other team, the whole 5th grade team, Mrs. Koljanik, who was very, very helpful with the program. As well as Mrs. Shannon, the dean, who worked so hard with the students. And of course to Mark Chacon, who made the whole beautiful so powerful. I'm going to ask everyone to please stand for Kelmalei Rachamim, followed by the singing of Hatikva. After that's done, I'd like to ask everyone to sit down, and I will dismiss you 1 grade at a time. I ask you not to talk at all. It should be totally silent when you're leaving the room in respect for the day. So it should be no talking whatsoever until you have left the auditorium. Kelmalei Rachamim, Shochein V'Amromim, Tzei Menucha Nechona Al Kanfei HaShechina, B'malon Yoshimu Tehorim, B'Kezor HaRkiah Mazirim, Et Kol HaNeshamot Shesheshet Milyonei HaYehudim, Chalalek HaShoah, Shenehergu, Shenishchatu, Shenisrifu, V'Shenispu Al Kiddush Hashem, בידי המרצחים הגרמנים ויוצריהם משחרמים. לכן הבעל המרחמים יסירים מסתר כנפיו לעולמים, ויצרור בצרור החיים את נשמותיהם. אדוני הוא נחלתם, בגן עדן תהא מנוחתם, ויעמדו לגורלם לקץ הימים. ונאמר